Hi everybody. If you're a crafter that you like to make cards with stamps, by now you probably have heard of a Chuckie tool. And these are some examples of some Chuckie tools. And this is a glass jar that I got from the Dollar Tree. So this glass jar was only $1 and I purchased two of them and I made two Chuckie tools with that. And I used supplies, mostly those found from Dollar Tree or like Dollar General. What I'm doing is I'm removing the rubber seal that you find on the edge of the glass jar lid. This is a rose gold colored glitter that I would like to use on this Chuckie tool. And you find these Chuckie tools not only, sometimes people sell them on Facebook, but you can see people on Etsy sell them too. So I received one that you saw earlier in the video as a present from my friend Ryan. And my friend Nancy made a video on how to make your own. And I thought, well, I think I want to do a video too, basically on things you can purchase at the Dollar Tree or Dollar Store to make yourself a Chuckie. So I removed the rubber seal from the glass jar and I'm getting rid of the garbage here. Next, you need a piece of heavy cardboard or chipboard. And I used the back of the Bristol Smooth cardstock paper pad, and I'm finding a piece of sticker paper. So this is just basically paper with adhesive on one side, and I'm using that to create a template for cutting the circles. I'm going to just cut them by hand, and I'm also going to cut the felt by hand too. So you'll see that is the circle that I cut out by hand. I used a circle die as my guide. And I also have one with the felt. And now you see brown, but on the other side is felt. So basically your circle is the size of your lid, and then the felt is as well. My felt had sticky paper, so I just peeled it and stuck it to this piece of chipboard. If you don't have a die to cut your circles, you can just go the old-fashioned way and just draw a circle by hand and trim it. Okay, now that my circles are drawn, I'm going to trim them, and I'm going to need one for on the felt, and then I have a spare. So you can see that this piece of felt has the paper on one side, and on the other side will go the felt. So I'm just showing you this is the board backer for Bristol Smooth cardstock. If you have that in your craft room, you can always grab that board. One thing that's nice about this sticky paper, you can lay it down on your felt and it helps you to cut your felt out in a nice circle. And if you don't have paper that's sticky on one side, just use regular paper as your template and just hold it to the felt and trim it that way. But this worked for me, and I'm just showing you what I did. Now, I did not buy this at the Dollar Tree. This paper was in my stash, and I'm just using things either that I got at the Dollar Tree or that are in my stash. This felt, I didn't have any other color, so it is the color that I'm using. It's a dark green. It has sticky on one side and felt on the other, and it's like a little bit padded. I don't know how to explain it, but anyways, I peel that adhesive backing off when I go to use this piece. But I just wanted to let you know what kind of felt I'm using. If you don't have this kind of felt, just use regular fun felt, whatever you have in your craft room. But you don't want to use foam because the fun foam won't glide across the stamp positioning tool the same way that felt does. Okay, so now we're going to put the glitter inside the lid. I'm using Art Glitter Glue, which dries clear. And my camera wasn't recording when I first put some in. Now, my brush is too large. I would definitely recommend you using a smaller brush. But what I do is I put a little glue down and then I take my brush and smooth that glue out and then I add the glitter. Alternately, you could just put the glue in first and then pour the glitter in, but I don't work very fast as a crafter. I'm very slow. So I just did a little bit at a time. I put a very little amount of glue, used my brush to spread it out, and then sprinkled with glitter. The only thing I would advise you is do not use a brush this big. I definitely think a smaller brush would allow you to get into all those nooks and crannies and would not be as clumsy. So I've got this large brush, and every time I touch anything that has glue and glitter, the brush is affecting it. So I'm also trying to get some glitter along the rim of the glass, and I'm just doing the same color. That's a rose gold from Martha Stewart that I had in my stash, but I know you can purchase it at big box stores. And when you do this project, it's very, very messy. So plan on getting glitter all over the place. Here I'm putting a little bit of glue on that rim, and I'm taking a brush and dabbing it's a dry brush. I'm dabbing it in the glitter and then transferring it over to the glue. Now, like I said, if you're a fast crafter and you can go into the jar and coat the entire thing quickly, then you wouldn't have to do this or get this messy. But in the end, it's really nice, and I think you'll agree that it's a great way to recycle a household item and help the environment, but also it works great as a stamp positioning platform tool. And I'll tell you how that works. Once I have the lid painted and the glue adhered onto there and the glitter all adhered, I'm going to set that aside to dry overnight. This is my second lid from the glass jar from the Dollar Tree, and I took a brush that was clean and I just ran the brush through the glass to make sure there was no dirt or debris. My second tool, I'm using Cosmic Shimmer Midnight Marine Holographic Glitter Bits. I'm going to leave the plastic rim on this one just to test it out and see the difference between the two. My one that I received as a gift does have the plastic rim, and I'm thinking that it might help with keeping the adhesion, but I'm not sure. Okay, what I'm demonstrating right now is that I poured some glue into the lid, and I'm just rotating the lid from side to side to allow that glue to coat the glass. This is another way that you can do it, or you can just use a brush. If you do it this way, just be very careful that you don't use too much glue. And I actually ended up having too much glue, so I had to work to fix that. I basically had to try to scrape it out with my brush. So I just would advise you to do this, if you're going to do it this way, do it a little bit at a time just to make sure your glue doesn't dry up and that it's not too thick, because if it's too thick, it's going to get gooey. The thing here is a thin coat of glue. If you remember anything, remember that. The glass will accept a thin coat of glue. It is not going to accept a lot of thick glue. And the art glitter glue is great because it dries clear. Once I have that glue in there, I'm going to grab that glitter and pour it right into the lid. This is glitter that I had in my stash, and I will say it's a nice chunky glitter, Cosmic Shimmer Holographic Glitter Bits. The other glitter that I had put in the other Chuckie was the Martha Stewart Rose Gold color, and that came from Michael's. It's actually called Martha Stewart Rose Quartz, and it's a very fine glitter. So, depending on what kind of look you're going for, you can use different types of glitter. You can use either the thick or the thin. Now, I'm just shaking this and getting the glitter to settle into the glue, and then I'll turn it over and flip out the excess. And I'm just going to turn that over and dump it onto a piece of paper, scrap paper, and that way I can collect that glitter and put it back into the jar. Now it looks like it has a milky finish, but don't worry, that will go away when it dries. It's just the texture of the art glitter glue, but once it dries, it does dry clear. Okay, so I'm putting the finishing touches on the jar lid. I want to show you how this dried and how the other one dried. So number one is the rose quartz. Number two is the cosmic shimmer. It's got a little bit of a milky look to it, but that'll dry eventually and it won't look that way. I'm really pleased with how these turned out. I think that the blue one is my favorite because it's a chunkier glitter. Now I'm just pressing my finger into those spots where it kind of looks white, and this helps to spread things out a little bit, even it out, and remove that white appearance. But eventually it does completely go away and it's completely clear. It just needs to dry, and this takes a little bit of time. Another hint I wanted to share is if you have the sprayable version of E6000 and you can get it to come out like a spray, for some reason mine's coming out like a jet. If you can have it come out like a spray, you can spray some of the little areas that might be bald that are missing the glitter, and then you can get the glitter in that way. So if there's a place once it's all dried that looks like it's just not covered as well, you can spray some E6000 in there and then go ahead and reapply your glitter and you'll be able to fill those gaps in. But try to get your E6000 to come out like a spray. It's the best way to do that, and it's just for touch-ups. We're at the final step. I cleaned my desk off because it was getting really messy. That's what happens when you're using glue and glitter. I've got my little felt circles ready to go. The felt that goes on the rubber seal is felt on both sides. I recommend you do that if you're leaving that rubber seal on. It just gives it better grip. And then the one with out the rubber seal, I just use the wood as the part that goes against the glass, which I think works out fine. All right, so now I've got clear Gorilla Glue. Remember, you want clear. And I'm going to take the Gorilla Glue around the rubber on the lid and make sure I get a nice thin line all the way around the circle, leaving no gaps. Now this Gorilla Glue comes out really fast and it's really messy. And if you get it on your fingers are going to be pretty sticky and tacky. So it takes a while to get it off if you do get it on your fingers or any of your crafting tools. All right, I'm putting some pressure on the Chuckie, and then I'm going to just let that sit so that it has the opportunity to adhere properly, and the glue keeps the two parts together. Now you could put something inside to weight it down. My only concern is that might make some of the glitter chip off and chip away. So that's something you have to be mindful of. I think it's fine without anything inside of it. I think that you're still going to be able to use it as a Chuckie tool. All right, so here we have the wood circle. This is basically the back of a Bristol Smooth cardstock with heavy chipboard. So there's that chipboard on one side and the felt on the other. And then I just rubbed it a little bit just to get like some friction so that it sticks, and I turned it and now it's putting a little bit of pressure on it, and that glass will stick to that wood using that Gorilla Glue. So I mean, you can decide how you want to do yours. You can either leave that rubber seal on or take it off. I prefer to leave it on. I think you get better gripping between the felt and the rubber, so that's my suggestion. Now here you can see what I did with the jars after they were empty, because I didn't have a candle lid, so I got the jar from the Dollar Tree. So I just took some twine and wrapped it around the jar, sort of a decorative touch. And then I can use the jar to store things. So I put all my dual art markers in the first jar, and I think they're going to stay there. They're a nice display and very colorful. And I'm not sure what I'm going to put in my second jar. Maybe some tools, maybe some paintbrushes. But you'll see I'm just taking and turning the jar, and the twine is up against the rim. And I am going to cut it and glue it down, and I'll just use some Gorilla Glue because I have it handy, and then I'll put a bow on it. Okay, so this is me just putting a bow, the twine, just a piece of twine. It's not anything fancy. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. But now I have two glass jars that I could use for storage. And you can see my Chuckie tools are nice and dry. They're looking really good, especially like the blue one. Probably because the glitter has more texture to it. So I'm going to have some still photos here at the end that you can look at of the finished product. I will say that on the rose gold one, the rose gold Chuckie, the Gorilla Glue sort of seeped between the glass and the chipboard. It kind of seeped out a little bit. So I had a real mess trying to pick that off because once it dries, it's white. And that's the only thing that concerned me. Maybe I used too much Gorilla Glue. That's the reason why it kind of seeped through. But that even is another reason why I would say leave that rubber piece on. That way you'll have less chance of your um, Gorilla Glue seeping between your glass and your chipboard. So thanks so much, and make sure you check out the still photos. Let me know what you think about my process for creating a Chuckie using the Dollar Tree jars and using other items that I had in my stash. Is this something that you're going to try to make? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified of all upcoming videos and lives. Thanks again, everybody. Have a hopeful day. Bye bye.